And now I'm talking to Éilis Ryan from the Debt and Development Coalition. Éilis, how's it going?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Okay, Éilis, I've talked to NASA and NASA works here a couple of times in Irish. I've yet to talk to these in English. This is our first time talking in English. Could you just give us an explanation of what is Debt and Development Coalition first, please?
Sure, yeah. So Debt and Development Coalition, we work on debt justice and tax justice around the world and in Ireland. And basically what that means is that we feel that a lot of countries in poorer parts of the world, like Africa and Latin America, but also in Europe now, they have huge debt burdens that were built up not by ordinary people, but often through illegitimate reasons. And it's not possible for those countries to have fair and equal development without addressing that debt. And also we work on the issue of tax justice, which is about making sure that mostly companies who work in certain countries pay taxes so that they contribute to the running of society.
Yeah, and you have like an international agenda, don't you? Like you work all around the world, so you work in Ireland as well. Like you're based in Ireland, but you also work on the kind of what's called debt situation in Ireland, don't you?
So we work. We were initially started 20 years ago when there was a big debt crisis in Latin America and in Africa and in Asia, and we started working to help countries there cancel their debts. And now, obviously, we see similar things happening in European countries like in Ireland and in Greece, where the debts of bankers and big businesses have been taken on by people, and we're campaigning against that also.
Yeah, we talk about Ireland in a minute or two, but just talk about Greece. That's the reason we're talking today. There's a big march on Saturday. You involved a march in solidarity with the Greek people. You're involved in organising that, yeah?
Not directly. So the organisers of the Greek Solidarity Campaign, and our campaigns group, Anglo Not Our Debt, is one of the members of the Greek Solidarity Campaign. So we've supported them from the start because obviously what's happening in Greece is a much broader situation, but a big part of it is that the Greek people have a debt burden that is not their own making. So it's not a debt that they built up themselves, but they're being forced to pay for it through cutbacks and austerity repeatedly. So we feel that the debt movement has to get behind Greek solidarity.
And do you believe, are you advocating for the debt relief in Greece and in Ireland, or like what's got debt forgiveness, or what?
Well, I suppose the first thing we feel is that it should be recognised that the debt isn't legitimate. So most of the debt in Greece, for example, has been used to the loans that they got given by the Troika. 90% of those have gone to repay bankers, not into Greek society. So we think it's not legitimate, and it's fair to ask for it to be written off. The second thing we feel is that it won't be possible to recover the economy if the Greek government continues to have to pay back that debt, because it won't be able to grow the economy by investing money in other places. But I suppose we would feel that there's a strong case to be made that it should be written off completely, or at a minimum, and in any case the debt repayments should never compromise people's human rights. At the moment there's a humanitarian crisis in Greece where people are suffering greatly, and a lot of that is happening because money is being put into servicing debts instead of into the Greek society.
Yeah, I read an article in the what's called Daily Mail there a couple of weeks ago. You might read it yourself about the public health system in Greece, and it's unbelievable what's going on there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the figures exactly, but I know that the amount of suicides in Greece, for example, has increased massively. A lot of people have been pointing out that we've been seeing a lot of queues at ATMs, but in fact, the queues at soup kitchens are much greater. People have been suffering for many years. The Greek economy has contracted by 26% since the start of the bailouts they've received. And even the IMF and the EU, there was documents leaked that showed they didn't believe that further austerity would improve the situation in Greece. So the situation is, as I said, it's a humanitarian crisis. What the Greek government are calling for is that no deal will be fair unless it includes a deal on debt, a deal to make sure that austerity doesn't continue, just so that the government pays back debts that were built up by bankers. And we feel that that's completely the case. It's also the case in Ireland, where we see that debts continuously. The debt crisis in Ireland is continuing to affect ordinary people in terms of cutbacks and austerity.
And do you think, like in Greece, like it doesn't seem to be sustainable, I don't think, to have more austerity. Like the people have suffered so much that they can't have any more. There has to be actually an increase in investment, particularly in health, for example. Because I read in the article I read a couple of weeks ago, it said the Medicine Sans Frontiers could really be going into Greece soon if there's not more investment. So, but in Ireland as well, do you think, like, we actually have more debt per head than the Greeks do, don't we? So do you think that the Ireland and Greece situation is kind of the same? It has to be targeted to what's got together, like, you know what I mean?
I think that just in terms of the first part, I think I think you're absolutely right. There's two different issues around austerity and Greece having more austerity. The first issue is that, as you said, it's not going to work in terms of the economy recovering. There's a huge amount of evidence at this stage that the austerity conditions that were imposed by the Troika, the IMF, the ECB, the European Union have led to the opposite of growth across Europe, including in Ireland and Greece. The second point is that the Greek people have democratically elected a government to oppose austerity, and on Sunday they will vote on austerity in a referendum. And so we also just have to respect their democratic right to choose what kind of policies are implemented in their country. And at the moment, that's clearly not happening. We had Jean-Claude Juncker coming out almost supporting a yes vote in the referendum, and that's quite an intrusion on the democratic rights of the Greek people. In terms of the situation in Greece and in Ireland, the Greek debt is higher per person than the Irish debt, but in terms of percentages. But yes, in both countries, they're amongst the most unsustainable debts in Europe. In both cases, it's clear that some sort of restructuring of debt and effective write-down of debt is going to be necessary to get the economies moving. And so what Syriza proposed earlier this year, and which a lot of economists in Ireland have endorsed, in fact, Catherine Murphy put a motion in the Dáil to support, was a European debt conference. And that's something that has happened in the past when there have been major debt conferences, for example, when there have been major debt crises. For example, after World War II, European countries came together and forgave the debts of Germany in order to ensure that the German economy recovered. And we would believe that a European debt conference where all indebted countries in Europe come together to discuss a solution is the proper way forward.
Okay, just to finish up, if people listen today want to help, in solidarity, want to help the Greek people, like, what would you recommend is the best things we can do? Like,
well, I think the three things would probably be first of all, we've a petition to cancel Greek debt. So on the debts specifically, you can go to debtireland.org and see the petition there, which you can sign, and that'll be sent to decision makers around writing off Greek debt. The second thing people do is get out and support the Solidarity March, which is happening on Saturday. That's incredibly important that there's a big number of people there at the Central Bank on Saturday. And the final thing, I think, is to write to your TDs in your local constituency, get their names, write to them and tell them that you want the Irish government to support Greece. To date, the Irish government has completely supported the Troika and has said that the Greek government can't demand an end to austerity, but the Irish government has to respect the democratic right of the people of Greece to vote against austerity. And I think we need to all get in touch with our TDs and tell them that that's what we want our government to be saying.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks very much.